Greetings, loyal viewers. Now, this one I'm going to make really quick because this is something I don't normally do. I don't normally do commentaries over screenshots of pretty much anything, if I'm being honest. But this is kind of a big deal because with all the commentary of Spyro and all the reveal stuff that we've had, it's only been for the first game, which is nice. I still like the first game a lot, but up to this point, I've been kind of getting, admittedly, a little eager to finally have some stuff for the second game, and we finally got our first glimpse of it here with Ripto, and let me just say, he looks even better in-game than he does on the art cover and poster. Not that I disliked the way he looked on the poster, but I admitted that there were a couple things of him that needed to be, that I hoped would be different in the actual game. One of the first things to note is his eyes. I don't know if maybe this is just a different lighting thing, given the scenario, but from what I can tell, his eyes have been made the right color at the very least. They had in the original art cover, they were yellow reptilian, which I never really quite got, considering Ripto never really had that to begin with. And we also see here that his head's more well-rounded and a bit more properly proportioned, because even as big heads go, I thought his head was just a little too big on the art cover. This one's a little bit more accurate. I also love the little details of the scuffs around his neck there, and I also like the little thing with the wrap around with his cape, which leads me to believe that they're going to do some really fun, creative visuals with the cape itself. Not like Doctor Strange level of creative visuals, but definitely something. One other thing I still like to note about him is the Grinch eyebrows. And some would argue if that's really what they are, but I don't care. I think they look great. They're definitely a great little detail to make him look a little goofy, but definitely more menacing, which is kind of what Ripto was. He was a goofy yet menacing villain, and I really like how well they're portraying that here with his new updated design. And speaking of that, I didn't get really much of a chance to talk about this before, but I also like the way they're doing that with Nasty Nork, as you'll see here. I like the way his armor now looks. It looks pretty cool. And I don't know if this is just me, but he kind of also looks like a cartoon caricature of the Norks from World of Warcraft. I don't know if that's just me. I could just be seeing things that nobody else does, but then again, we all have those moments. But overall, he also looks really cool. I like the weapon, too. I don't know if this is in the final boss fight, or if this is part of the opening cutscene in the first game, but overall, he looks fairly promising. And much like Ripto, honestly, it looks even better in the actual game than he does on the art cover. Now, getting back to speaking of that, getting back to Ripto one more time, I also like the way they, one thing that's been pointed out by fans recently after this image was dropped is where this is happening, and many have pointed out that with some notable details that this appears to be taking place in Gulp's Overlook or Outlook. I don't remember what it's called, but and that seems to be it. I mean, looking at it and even looking at the cutscene for the boss thing again in my spare time anyway, that seems about right. Now, the only other thing that's important to note is that this doesn't really look like it matches up with that particular cutscene, which leads me to believe that the game is probably going to be adding some newer cutscenes for Ripto throughout the entire thing. Maybe not even just with Ripto, but with other characters too, which would be interesting. It would definitely give the world a lot more depth and whatnot, for especially what's essentially a kids game, a fun, charming kids game and whatnot, platformer. So, that's really all I have to say about this. He looks really cool, and with that said, I'm King Gargantuous, and I'll see you all next time. And